The way you talk to yourself right now in this very moment is either quietly healing you or quietly breaking you down, piece by piece, day by day. Most people don't even realize the harsh, critical voice running through their mind isn't truth, it's just a habit, a wound repeating itself over and over. But there's a different way to talk to yourself, a way that actually heals instead of harms, and once you learn it, your entire inner world begins to change. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share could be the beginning of the deepest healing you've ever experienced. Let's start with something most people never stop to examine, the voice inside your own head. Every single day, that voice comments on everything you do, your appearance, your decisions, your mistakes, your worth. For many people, this inner voice isn't kind. It's harsh, critical, impatient, sometimes even cruel. And the tragic part is, most people never question where that voice came from, or whether it's even telling the truth. Here's something important to understand. The way you speak to yourself wasn't something you were born with. It was learned, absorbed from how you were spoken to as a child, from painful experiences, from criticism you internalized over the years, from moments when you felt you weren't good enough, and started repeating that message to yourself long after the original source was gone. This means your inner voice isn't a fixed, permanent truth about who you are. It's a habit, a pattern, and like any pattern, it can be changed. Think about how you would speak to a close friend who made a mistake, or who was struggling with self-doubt. Would you call them worthless? Would you criticize every flaw without offering any compassion? Most people would never speak to a friend the way they speak to themselves internally. Yet somehow we allow ourselves to receive this harsh treatment daily, from the one voice we can never escape, our own. This harsh inner voice doesn't protect you, even though it often disguises itself as motivation or discipline. Many people believe that being hard on themselves pushes them toward improvement, but research and lived experience consistently show the opposite. Self-criticism often increases anxiety, shame, and avoidance, while self-compassion actually increases motivation, resilience, and genuine growth. The harsh voice doesn't make you stronger, it slowly wears you down, creating deep internal wounds that quietly affect your confidence, your relationships, and your overall mental health. Healing begins the moment you recognize this inner voice for what it truly is, a learned pattern, not an accurate reflection of your worth. This recognition alone doesn't erase years of harsh self-talk overnight, but it opens the door to something new, the possibility of learning a different way to speak to yourself. One rooted in compassion, patience, and genuine care, rather than constant criticism and judgment. Now let's talk about something transformative, learning to speak to yourself the way a loving, wise mentor would speak to you, rather than the way a harsh critic has been speaking to you for years. Imagine for a moment someone who genuinely cares about you deeply, someone wise, patient, and unconditionally supportive. Now imagine that person witnessing you make a mistake, struggle with a difficult decision, or face a painful setback. How would they respond? Likely not with harsh criticism or cruel judgment. They would probably offer understanding, gentle guidance, and encouragement, acknowledging the difficulty of the situation, while still believing in your ability to grow and move forward. This is exactly the kind of voice you need to begin cultivating internally. Not a voice that ignores mistakes or avoids accountability, but one that addresses them with compassion rather than cruelty. Instead of saying, "I'm so stupid for messing that up," try practicing something like, "That didn't go the way I hoped, but I can learn from this and do better next time." Notice how this shift doesn't excuse the mistake. It simply approaches it from a place of growth rather than shame. This transformation requires conscious, consistent practice, especially if harsh self-talk has been your default pattern for years. Start by simply noticing when your inner critic speaks up, without immediately trying to change it. Awareness is the first step. Once you notice the harsh voice, gently pause and ask yourself, would I speak to someone I love this way? If the answer is no, consciously choose to rephrase that internal statement with more compassion and understanding. This practice might feel unnatural or even uncomfortable at first, especially if self-criticism has been deeply ingrained as your primary way of motivating yourself. But over time, with consistent practice, this compassionate inner voice becomes more natural, gradually replacing the harsh, critical patterns that have quietly caused so much internal pain over the years. It's also important to remember that self-compassion doesn't mean avoiding responsibility or making excuses for genuine mistakes. It means addressing those mistakes with honesty and accountability, while maintaining kindness and patience toward yourself throughout the process. This balance, honest accountability paired with genuine compassion, creates a much healthier foundation for personal growth than harsh criticism ever could. As you continue practicing this shift, speaking to yourself the way a loving mentor would, rather than a harsh critic, you'll likely notice significant improvements in your overall emotional well-being, resilience, and genuine motivation to grow and heal. Let's talk now about something powerful: understanding the specific language patterns that either heal or harm you internally, because the exact words you use with yourself carry enormous weight in shaping your emotional and mental well-being. Many people don't realize how much their internal language shapes their reality. Phrases like "I always mess things up" or "I'm never good enough" aren't just passing thoughts. They're repeated affirmations that, over time, become deeply ingrained beliefs about your identity and capabilities. The words "always" and "never" are particularly damaging because they transform temporary struggles or mistakes into permanent, fixed characteristics about who you fundamentally are. Learning to recognize and interrupt these absolute permanent statements is an important step toward healing. Instead of saying "I always fail at this," try shifting toward more accurate, compassionate language like "This particular attempt didn't go as planned, but that doesn't define my overall ability." This subtle shift moves away from permanent, identity-based criticism toward specific situational feedback that leaves room for growth and change. Another important pattern to notice involves comparing yourself unfavorably to others. Statements like "everyone else has it figured out except me," or "I should be further along by now," create unnecessary suffering by measuring your unique journey against an unfair, often inaccurate comparison to others. Learning to replace these comparisons with more personal, compassionate language, such as "My journey looks different from others and that's completely okay," helps reduce unnecessary shame and self-judgment. It's also helpful to become aware of catastrophizing language, statements that exaggerate difficulties into overwhelming, insurmountable problems. Phrases like "this is a complete disaster" or "I can't handle this at all" often amplify emotional distress beyond what the actual situation warrants. Practicing more balanced language, such as "this is difficult, but I can take it one step at a time," helps maintain emotional stability even during genuinely challenging situations. Developing awareness of these specific language patterns requires consistent practice and self-reflection. Start paying closer attention to your internal dialogue throughout the day, especially during stressful or difficult moments. Notice patterns of absolute language, unfair comparisons, or catastrophizing thoughts, and gently practice reframing them with more balanced, compassionate alternatives. As you continue strengthening this awareness and practice, you'll likely notice a significant shift in your overall emotional experience, moving away from harsh, exaggerated self-criticism toward more balanced, realistic, and ultimately healing internal dialogue that genuinely supports your mental and emotional well-being. Let's talk now about something essential: understanding how self-talk directly influences your nervous system, and why gentle, compassionate internal language actually creates measurable physical calm within your body. Many people don't realize that self-talk isn't just a mental or emotional experience. It directly influences your physical body as well. Harsh, critical self-talk activates your body's stress response, releasing cortisol and adrenaline, the same hormones triggered during genuine external threats. Over time, chronic harsh self-criticism keeps your nervous system in a persistent state of stress, contributing to anxiety, tension, fatigue, and even physical health issues. On the other hand, gentle, compassionate self-talk activates a completely different physiological response. When you speak to yourself with kindness and understanding, your body begins shifting out of this stress response, activating what's often called the parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for relaxation, healing, and overall physical calm. This means that learning to speak to yourself more compassionately isn't just beneficial for your mental health, it's genuinely healing for your entire body as well. This connection between self-talk and physical calm explains why harsh self-criticism often leaves you feeling physically exhausted, tense, or anxious, even without any external stressful event occurring. Your own internal dialogue becomes the stressor, triggering your body's threat response repeatedly throughout the day, simply through critical, harsh internal language. Understanding this connection provides powerful motivation for practicing compassionate self-talk, not just as a nice idea, but as a genuine tool for physical and emotional healing. Each time you consciously choose gentler, more understanding language internally, you're actively calming your nervous system, reducing chronic stress, and creating space for genuine physical and emotional relaxation. This doesn't mean you'll never feel stress or anxiety again. Life naturally includes challenging situations that trigger genuine stress responses. But learning to reduce the additional, unnecessary stress created through harsh self-criticism significantly improves your overall resilience and ability to handle external challenges with greater calm and clarity. Practicing this shift involves consistent awareness and gentle redirection, noticing when your internal dialogue becomes harsh or critical, and consciously choosing to soften that language, even slightly, toward more compassionate, understanding phrasing. Over time, this consistent practice not only improves your mental and emotional well-being, but genuinely supports your body's physical health and natural healing processes as well, creating a powerful holistic transformation through something as simple yet profound as how you choose to speak to yourself internally. Let's talk now about something important: understanding how self-compassion differs significantly from self-indulgence or making excuses. Because many people mistakenly avoid gentler self-talk out of fear it will lead to laziness or lack of accountability. This is one of the most common misunderstandings about self-compassion. Many people believe that being hard on themselves is necessary for discipline, growth, and achievement, while being gentle with themselves might lead to complacency or avoiding responsibility. But genuine self-compassion works completely differently from self-indulgence, and understanding this distinction is crucial for truly healing your relationship with yourself. Self-indulgence typically involves avoiding accountability altogether, making excuses for genuine mistakes, or ignoring necessary growth and improvement simply to avoid discomfort. Self-compassion, on the other hand, involves acknowledging mistakes honestly and directly, while approaching that acknowledgement with kindness and understanding rather than harsh judgment or shame. This means self-compassion doesn't eliminate accountability. It actually creates a healthier, more sustainable path toward genuine growth and improvement. Think about it this way: when you make a genuine mistake, self-indulgence might sound like, "It doesn't matter, I'll just ignore it and move on without reflecting on what happened." Self-compassion, however, sounds more like, "I made a mistake, and while that's disappointing, I can learn from this experience and approach things differently next time." Notice how self-compassion still acknowledges the mistake honestly, while approaching the situation with patience and constructive reflection, rather than harsh criticism or complete avoidance. Research consistently shows that self-compassion actually increases motivation, resilience, and genuine accountability, rather than decreasing it. When people feel safe acknowledging their mistakes without fear of harsh self-judgment, they become more willing to honestly reflect on areas needing improvement, rather than becoming defensive or avoidant out of fear of self-criticism. This means practicing self-compassion doesn't mean lowering your standards or avoiding personal responsibility. It means creating a healthier, more sustainable internal environment where genuine growth and accountability can actually flourish, rather than being stifled by fear, shame, or harsh self-judgment. As you continue practicing self-compassion, remind yourself regularly that this approach isn't about becoming complacent or avoiding responsibility. It's about creating a healthier foundation from which genuine growth, accountability, and lasting change can actually occur, replacing the exhausting cycle of harsh self-criticism with a more sustainable, compassionate path toward genuine healing and improvement. Let's talk now about something important: understanding how to practice self-compassion specifically during moments of intense emotional pain, failure, or disappointment. Because this is often when harsh self-talk becomes most damaging, and compassionate self-talk becomes most necessary. During moments of significant emotional pain, whether from failure, rejection, loss, or disappointment, our inner critic often becomes especially loud and harsh. This happens because pain triggers a kind of internal panic, and many people unconsciously believe that harshly criticizing themselves will somehow prevent future pain or failure. But in reality, this harsh internal response during already painful moments often deepens suffering significantly, adding unnecessary emotional weight to an already difficult experience. Learning to practice self-compassion specifically during these intense moments requires conscious, deliberate effort, especially since harsh self-talk often feels automatic during emotional pain. One helpful practice involves acknowledging your pain directly, without immediately jumping to self-criticism or blame. Simply saying internally, "This really hurts right now," validates your genuine emotional experience rather than immediately criticizing yourself for feeling pain in the first place. After acknowledging your pain honestly, practice offering yourself the same comfort and understanding you would naturally offer a close friend experiencing similar pain. This might sound like, "It's okay to feel hurt right now. This is a genuinely difficult situation," rather than immediately shifting into harsh criticism like, "I shouldn't feel this way," or "I need to just get over this already." It's also helpful to remind yourself during these painful moments that struggling or feeling pain doesn't indicate weakness or failure as a person. Pain and difficulty are universal human experiences, not evidence of personal inadequacy. Practicing this understanding, recognizing that pain connects you to shared human experience rather than isolating you in personal failure, significantly reduces additional suffering caused by harsh self-judgment during already difficult times. This practice becomes especially important because how you treat yourself during painful moments significantly impacts your ability to heal and move forward. Harsh self-criticism during pain often prolongs suffering, creating additional layers of shame and self-judgment on top of the original difficulty. But compassionate self-talk during these same moments allows genuine healing to begin more naturally, without the added burden of unnecessary self-inflicted emotional pain. As you continue practicing this compassionate approach specifically during moments of genuine emotional difficulty, you'll likely notice significant improvement in your overall resilience and ability to heal from painful experiences, moving through difficult emotions with greater ease, rather than compounding your pain through additional harsh self-criticism. Let's talk now about something powerful: understanding how to identify and heal the specific origins of your harsh inner voice. Because recognizing where this pattern originally came from often provides significant clarity and compassion toward yourself. For many people, the harsh, critical inner voice didn't develop randomly. It often originated from specific experiences, particularly during childhood or significant formative periods in life. Perhaps you grew up with a parent or caregiver who was highly critical, setting impossibly high standards without much warmth or encouragement. Perhaps you experienced bullying, rejection, or repeated failure experiences that gradually shaped a harsh internal narrative about your own worth and capabilities. Understanding these origins doesn't mean blaming others entirely for your current inner voice, but it does provide valuable context and compassion for understanding why this pattern developed in the first place. Recognizing that your harsh inner critic likely developed as a protective mechanism, perhaps an attempt to avoid further criticism or rejection by criticizing yourself first, or an internalized voice from someone who was critical toward you, can help you approach healing with greater understanding and less self-blame for having developed this pattern originally. This recognition also helps clarify an important truth. The harsh voice inside your head isn't actually your authentic self. It's often an internalized version of someone else's voice, a critical parent, a harsh teacher, painful past experiences that you've unconsciously adopted as your own internal narrative over time. Understanding this distinction, that your harsh inner critic isn't truly you, but rather a learned pattern from external sources, creates important separation and clarity for healing. Healing this origin often involves consciously working to separate your authentic voice from this inherited critical pattern. This might involve reflecting on where specific critical thoughts originated, recognizing patterns that closely resemble how you were spoken to during difficult periods in your past, and consciously choosing to replace these inherited patterns with your own authentic, compassionate voice moving forward. This process takes time and patience, particularly if these patterns developed over many years during childhood or significant life experiences. But understanding the origin of your harsh inner voice provides valuable context, helping you approach this healing journey with greater compassion. Recognizing that you didn't choose this harsh pattern intentionally, it was learned, absorbed, and internalized, often as a survival mechanism during difficult periods in your life. As you continue exploring and understanding these origins, you'll likely find increased compassion for yourself throughout this healing process. recognizing that changing this deeply ingrained pattern takes time, patience, and consistent effort, rather than expecting immediate, effortless transformation. Let's talk now about something essential: understanding how consistent daily practices, small, simple habits repeated regularly, gradually rewire your internal dialogue from harsh criticism toward genuine compassion and healing. Transforming your inner voice from years of harsh self-talk into genuine compassion doesn't happen through occasional effort or sporadic practice. It requires consistent, daily commitment, small moments of conscious redirection repeated regularly over time, gradually reshaping deeply ingrained patterns into healthier, more compassionate internal dialogue. One helpful daily practice involves starting each morning with a brief moment of intentional, compassionate self-talk. This might be as simple as internally stating, "Today I'll approach myself with patience and understanding, especially if things don't go perfectly." This small, intentional practice sets a compassionate tone for the day ahead, gradually building awareness and consistency in how you speak to yourself throughout daily challenges and experiences. Another powerful practice involves keeping a simple journal specifically focused on self-compassion. At the end of each day, write down moments where you noticed harsh self-criticism arising, and consciously reframe those moments with more compassionate language. Over time, this consistent journaling practice strengthens your ability to recognize and shift harsh internal patterns more naturally, even outside of dedicated journaling time. It's also helpful to practice regular moments of self-compassion, specifically during stressful or challenging situations throughout your day. This might involve pausing briefly during a difficult moment, placing a hand gently on your chest, and internally acknowledging, "This is hard right now, and it's okay to feel this way." This simple physical and verbal practice helps interrupt automatic harsh self-criticism, replacing it with immediate compassionate acknowledgement instead. Consistency matters far more than intensity in this practice. Small, regular moments of compassionate self-talk, repeated consistently throughout each day, create far more significant, lasting change than occasional, intense efforts followed by long periods without practice. This is similar to how physical exercise builds strength gradually through consistent, regular practice, rather than through occasional, intense workouts followed by extended periods of inactivity. As you continue building these daily habits, remind yourself that transforming years of ingrained harsh self-talk takes genuine time and patience. Celebrate small moments of progress along the way, recognizing that consistent, gentle practice, rather than immediate perfection, ultimately creates lasting, meaningful change in how you speak to and treat yourself internally, gradually replacing years of harsh criticism with genuine compassion, patience, and healing. Let's talk now about something powerful: understanding how compassionate self-talk directly improves your relationships with others, because the way you treat yourself internally often mirrors and significantly influences how you show up in your relationships with other people. Many people don't realize how deeply connected self-talk and interpersonal relationships truly are. When you consistently speak to yourself with harsh criticism, judgment, or impatience, this internal pattern often unconsciously spills over into your relationships, sometimes triggered as excessive people-pleasing to compensate for internal insecurity, sometimes through defensive reactions to feedback or criticism from others, and sometimes through difficulty offering genuine compassion and patience to people around you, simply because you haven't yet learned to offer that same compassion to yourself. On the other hand, as you begin developing genuine self-compassion, this internal shift naturally begins improving your relationships as well. When you're no longer constantly criticizing yourself internally, you become less defensive when receiving feedback from others, because your sense of worth no longer depends entirely on being perfect or avoiding all criticism. You become more emotionally available in relationships, because you're not exhausting your emotional energy managing harsh internal criticism throughout the day. This shift also naturally increases your capacity for genuine empathy and patience toward others. When you understand, through your own healing journey, how difficult it can be to struggle with self-doubt, mistakes, or internal criticism, you naturally develop deeper compassion and patience for others experiencing similar struggles, rather than judging them harshly for their own imperfections or mistakes. Additionally, healthier self-talk often improves your ability to set and maintain boundaries within relationships. When your internal dialogue no longer constantly criticizes or doubts your own worth, you become more confident expressing your needs, saying no when necessary, and maintaining healthy boundaries, rather than constantly seeking external validation or approval to compensate for internal self-criticism. This connection between self-talk and relationships highlights why healing your internal dialogue isn't just a personal, isolated practice. It genuinely transforms how you connect, communicate, and engage with everyone around you. As your internal relationship with yourself becomes healthier and more compassionate, this positive shift naturally extends outward, improving the overall quality and depth of your relationships with family, friends, and even new connections you form moving forward. As you continue practicing self-compassion internally, pay attention to these positive ripple effects extending into your relationships, recognizing that healing your inner voice creates benefits extending far beyond your own personal well-being, positively transforming nearly every meaningful relationship in your life as well. Let's talk now about something important: understanding how to handle setbacks and moments where harsh self-talk resurfaces, even after significant progress toward healing your inner voice. Because this journey rarely follows a perfectly smooth, linear path. As you continue practicing compassionate self-talk, it's important to understand that occasional setbacks, moments where old, harsh patterns resurface unexpectedly, are a completely normal part of this healing journey. This doesn't mean your progress wasn't genuine or effective. It simply reflects the reality that deeply ingrained patterns, developed over many years, don't disappear instantly or permanently after initial progress. When you notice harsh self-talk resurfacing, especially during particularly stressful or emotionally difficult situations, it's important to respond to this setback itself with compassion, rather than harsh judgment. This might sound like, "I notice I'm being critical with myself again, and that's okay. Healing isn't a perfectly straight path." This compassionate response to your own setback prevents you from spiraling into additional self-criticism about experiencing self-criticism in the first place, which can otherwise create an exhausting, discouraging cycle. It's also helpful to view these moments of setback as valuable opportunities for continued growth and awareness, rather than signs of failure or lack of progress. Each time you notice harsh self-talk resurfacing and consciously choose to redirect toward compassion, even after initial criticism arises, you're actually strengthening your overall skill and awareness, rather than starting over completely from the beginning. Understanding that healing isn't linear also helps manage expectations realistically. Some days, compassionate self-talk will feel more natural and automatic. Other days, particularly during stressful or triggering situations, old patterns might resurface more strongly. This fluctuation is completely normal and doesn't indicate failure. It simply reflects the natural, sometimes unpredictable nature of genuine healing and personal growth. During particularly difficult setbacks, it can also help to remind yourself of the specific progress you've already made. Reflecting on situations where you successfully practiced compassionate self-talk, even if imperfectly, rather than focusing solely on the current moment's struggle. This broader perspective helps maintain motivation and hope, even during temporarily challenging periods within your overall healing journey. As you continue navigating this nonlinear healing process, remember that consistency over time, rather than perfect, uninterrupted progress, ultimately creates lasting transformation. Each setback handled with compassion, rather than harsh self-judgment, actually reinforces and strengthens your overall healing journey, rather than undermining the genuine progress you've already made. Let's talk now about something powerful: understanding how gratitude toward yourself, genuinely acknowledging your own strengths, efforts, and growth, becomes an essential complement to self-compassion in your overall healing journey. While much of this journey focuses on softening harsh criticism and self-judgment, healing your inner voice also involves actively recognizing and appreciating your genuine strengths, efforts, and progress, rather than only focusing on eliminating negative self-talk. Many people become so focused on reducing criticism that they forget to actively cultivate genuine appreciation and gratitude toward themselves as well. This practice of self-gratitude involves regularly acknowledging your own efforts, growth, and positive qualities, even in small, everyday moments. This might involve recognizing when you handled a difficult situation with patience, when you made progress toward a personal goal, or simply when you showed kindness to yourself or others during a challenging day. Actively noticing and appreciating these moments helps balance your internal dialogue, creating space for genuine positive reinforcement alongside reduced self-criticism. Many people struggle initially with this practice, feeling uncomfortable or even guilty acknowledging their own strengths or accomplishments, especially if they are accustomed to focusing primarily on flaws or areas needing improvement. This discomfort often stems from cultural or personal beliefs that self-appreciation equals arrogance or complacency. But genuine self-gratitude is completely different from arrogance. It simply involves honest, balanced acknowledgement of your genuine efforts and qualities, rather than exaggerated or dishonest self-praise. Practicing this gratitude might involve keeping a simple daily list of things you appreciate about your own efforts or qualities, however small they might seem. This could include acknowledging your patience during a stressful situation, your effort toward a personal goal, or simply your willingness to practice self-compassion, even during difficult moments. Over time, this consistent practice helps build a more balanced, appreciative internal narrative, rather than one focused solely on criticism or areas needing improvement. This practice of self-gratitude also reinforces your overall healing journey, providing genuine motivation and positive reinforcement, rather than relying solely on the absence of criticism to feel emotionally stable. When you actively recognize and appreciate your own genuine efforts and strengths, you create a more sustainable, positive internal foundation, one that supports continued growth and healing, rather than simply avoiding negative self-talk without cultivating genuine positive self-regard. As you continue incorporating this practice of self-gratitude alongside self-compassion, you'll likely notice a more balanced, genuinely positive internal dialogue developing over time, one that not only reduces harsh criticism, but actively celebrates and appreciates your genuine growth, effort, and inherent worth throughout this ongoing healing journey. Let's talk now about something essential: understanding how mindfulness and present moment awareness significantly support your ability to notice and shift harsh self-talk more effectively throughout your daily life. Mindfulness, the practice of paying attention to the present moment without immediate judgment, plays a crucial role in healing your inner voice. Often, harsh self-talk operates almost automatically, running through your mind without conscious awareness, until the emotional impact, anxiety, shame, or sadness alerts you that something painful has already happened internally. Mindfulness helps interrupt this automatic pattern, creating space between the initial harsh thought and your emotional or behavioral response. Practicing mindfulness doesn't require complicated techniques or extensive meditation experience. It simply involves regularly pausing throughout your day to notice your current thoughts, emotions, and internal dialogue without immediately judging or reacting to what you notice. This might involve taking a few conscious breaths periodically throughout your day, briefly checking in with your internal state, and gently noticing whether harsh or compassionate self-talk is currently present. This practice of mindful awareness allows you to catch harsh self-talk much earlier, before it fully escalates into overwhelming shame, anxiety, or emotional distress. Instead of harsh criticism running unchecked for extended periods, mindfulness helps you notice these patterns more quickly, creating opportunities for conscious redirection toward more compassionate internal dialogue. It's also helpful to practice mindfulness specifically during transitions throughout your day, moments between activities, before responding to challenging situations, or during quiet moments of reflection. These natural pauses provide valuable opportunities to check in with your internal dialogue, noticing patterns of harsh criticism or compassionate self-talk, and consciously choosing which pattern you want to reinforce moving forward. Developing this mindful awareness takes consistent practice, particularly if you're accustomed to operating on autopilot throughout much of your day, without much conscious awareness of your internal dialogue. Starting with brief regular check-ins, even just a few times throughout your day, gradually builds this awareness over time, making it easier to notice and shift harsh self-talk patterns more naturally and consistently. As you continue developing this mindfulness practice alongside your ongoing work towards self-compassion, you'll likely notice significant improvement in your ability to catch and redirect harsh self-talk earlier and more effectively, creating greater overall emotional stability and genuine healing throughout your daily life and experiences. Let's talk now about something powerful: understanding how forgiveness toward yourself, releasing guilt and shame from past mistakes or perceived failures, becomes an essential part of truly healing your inner voice and relationship with yourself. Many people carry significant guilt or shame from past mistakes, decisions, or perceived failures, often replaying these situations repeatedly in their minds, criticizing themselves harshly, often sometimes for years or even decades after the original event occurred. This ongoing self-punishment, believing that continued guilt or shame somehow serves a protective or corrective purpose, often prevents genuine healing and growth from taking place. Self-forgiveness doesn't mean minimizing genuine mistakes or avoiding accountability for past actions. It means acknowledging what happened honestly, taking responsibility where appropriate, learning genuine lessons from the experience, and then consciously choosing to release the ongoing punishment of continued guilt, shame, or harsh self-criticism, rather than carrying that burden indefinitely. This process often requires distinguishing between healthy accountability and unnecessary, prolonged self-punishment. Healthy accountability involves acknowledging mistakes, understanding their impact, and making genuine efforts toward growth or repair where possible. Unnecessary self-punishment, however, involves continuing to harshly criticize yourself long after these healthy steps have already been taken, essentially punishing yourself repeatedly for something that cannot be changed through continued guilt or shame. Practicing self-forgiveness might involve consciously reflecting on past situations that continue causing guilt or shame, acknowledging honestly what happened and any genuine lessons learned, and then intentionally choosing to release the ongoing emotional burden, recognizing that continued self-punishment doesn't create positive change. It simply prolongs unnecessary suffering without genuine benefit. This doesn't mean forgiveness happens instantly or easily, particularly for significant past mistakes or painful situations. Self-forgiveness is often a gradual process, requiring patience, consistent practice, and sometimes additional support through therapy, journaling, or trusted conversations with others. But consciously working toward this release, rather than continuing indefinite self-punishment, becomes an essential part of genuine healing. As you continue this practice of self-forgiveness, remind yourself that releasing guilt and shame doesn't mean the original situation didn't matter, or that you're avoiding genuine responsibility. It simply means recognizing that continued harsh self-punishment doesn't serve any genuine, productive purpose, allowing you instead to move forward with greater peace, compassion, and genuine healing, rather than remaining trapped indefinitely in unnecessary guilt and shame from your past. Let's talk now about something essential, understanding how this entire journey of healing your inner voice ultimately leads toward a deeper, more authentic relationship with your true self. One built on genuine understanding, acceptance, and compassion. As you continue practicing compassionate self-talk, releasing harsh criticism, forgiving past mistakes, and cultivating genuine self-gratitude, something profound gradually begins happening. You start developing a deeper, more authentic connection with your true self, separate from the harsh, critical patterns you previously believed defined who you truly were. This authentic self, often buried beneath years of harsh self-criticism, fear, and self-doubt, begins emerging more clearly as you continue this healing journey. You start recognizing your genuine values, desires, and needs more clearly, no longer clouded by constant harsh judgment or fear of inadequacy. This clarity allows you to make decisions and choices more aligned with your authentic self, rather than decisions driven primarily by fear, shame, or the need for external validation. This deeper connection with your authentic self also naturally increases your overall sense of inner peace and stability. When you're no longer constantly at war internally, criticizing, judging, and punishing yourself, you create space for genuine calm, clarity, and self-acceptance to develop naturally. This inner peace doesn't mean you'll never struggle or face difficult emotions again, but it means you're no longer adding unnecessary internal conflict on top of life's natural challenges. This healing journey also transforms your relationship with your own potential and growth. Instead of viewing personal growth through the lens of fixing fundamental flaws or inadequacies, you begin viewing growth as a natural, ongoing process of becoming more fully yourself, rather than constantly trying to fix or improve something inherently broken or insufficient about who you are. As this authentic relationship with yourself continues deepening, you'll likely notice greater overall confidence, resilience, and genuine self-acceptance, not based on achieving perfection or avoiding all mistakes, but based on genuine understanding, compassion, and acceptance of yourself as a whole, complex human being, worthy of the same kindness and patience you would naturally offer to someone you deeply love and care about. This journey toward authentic self-connection represents the deepest form of healing available through this practice, moving beyond simply reducing harsh self-talk toward genuinely rediscovering and embracing your true authentic self, free from years of critical, harmful internal patterns that previously obscured your genuine worth and potential. As we come to the end of this journey together, remember this truth deeply. The way you speak to yourself shapes your entire inner world, your confidence, your resilience, your relationships, and your overall sense of peace and well-being. For too long, many of us have carried harsh, critical voices that were never truly our own, patterns learned from painful experiences, absorbed long before we understood they weren't actually the truth about who we are. You've learned that healing this inner voice doesn't happen through harsh discipline or forcing immediate change. It happens through consistent, patient practice, treating yourself with the same compassion you would naturally offer someone you deeply love. You've learned to recognize harmful language patterns, understand the physical impact of self-talk on your nervous system, distinguish self-compassion from self-indulgence, and navigate setbacks with patience rather than additional self-criticism. You've also learned the importance of forgiveness, gratitude, mindfulness, and ultimately reconnecting with your authentic self, one that exists beneath years of harsh internal patterns, waiting patiently to be rediscovered through genuine compassion and understanding. This healing journey isn't about achieving perfect, flawless self-talk overnight. It's about consistent, patient practice, showing yourself grace during setbacks, and gradually building a genuinely compassionate relationship with yourself, one conversation, one moment, one gentle redirection at a time. Moving forward, carry this understanding with you into every difficult moment, every mistake, every challenge life presents. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you deeply love, with patience, understanding, and genuine compassion. This simple yet profound shift has the power to heal wounds that have quietly affected you for years, finally allowing your mind and your heart to truly heal. If this video brought you clarity, comfort, or a new understanding of how to heal your relationship with yourself, take a moment right now, like this video, so it reaches someone else who genuinely needs to hear this today. Subscribe to this channel, because this is only the beginning of the healing and wisdom we'll continue exploring together. And leave a comment below, sharing which part of this video resonated with you the most. I read every single one. This has been Master Shen. Speak to yourself gently, heal deeply, and I'll see you in the next one.